We are a material science senior design team working on understanding the effects of boron mitigation on the microstructure and mechanical properties of gray iron. Our project is sponsored by Rebekah Foundry, and our contact is Jason Bush. Rebekah Foundry is one of the largest cast iron producers in the world, and they use up to 50% scrap steel as a part of their feedstock. Part of that recycled steel is automotive scrap steel, which has recently seen increasing levels in boron, which causes undesirable changes to the mechanical properties of gray iron. This is because gray iron gets much of its strength from pearlite, but boron promotes the formation of ferrite over pearlite, and ferrite is a weaker phase. Rebekah has three options to combat this. 1. Only accept low boron scrap, which is more expensive to sort out. 2. Add expensive pearlite stabilizers like tin. Or 3. Dilute the melt with virgin material, which is more expensive. If boron can be reduced economically, more recycled material can be used. Last year's senior design project found that adding 3% weight soda ash to the melt can reduce boron content by up to 2/3. Our hypothesis is that if soda ash is added to high boron melt, then resulting material will be stronger because the soda ash will reduce the boron concentration and thus reducing the ferrite content of the metal. To test this, we developed 4 different melt conditions: a baseline composition with 5 parts per million boron, a high boron melt with 40 parts per million, a fluxed melt where we reduced the boron content from 40 parts per million down to 20 parts per million using soda ash, and a diluted melt where we did the same thing by adding virgin material. These melts were cast into 4 blocks to study the interactions of melt composition and cooling rate, as the thinner plates will cool faster than the thicker plates. This gave us a 2-factor DOE with 4 responses: graphite volume fraction, ferrite volume fraction, hardness, and tensile strength. This is a breakdown of our process from casting the blocks and bars at the top, machining and preparing the samples in the middle, and finally testing at the bottom. Each block was sectioned to get a hardness sample and a metallographic sample. The metallography samples were polished, imaged to measure graphite and ferrite percentages in the material. Here are some of the images we captured. The matrix is pearlite and the black lines are graphite, and the bright white areas are ferrite. As we can see, the size of graphite flakes increases with slower cooling rates. We also found that slower cooling rates leads to higher amounts of ferrite, with the fluxed and the high boron samples having the highest ferrite content overall. Returning to the hardness samples taken from the block casting, we ground 2 millimeters off the surface of each block before performing Brinell hardness tests on the material. Here we have the results of the hardness tests. The data of the thinnest step was discarded due to the samples cracking, but the rest of the data shows that the fluxed and high boron samples were the softest. In addition to our blocks, we also cast tensile bars for each of our melt compositions. These bars were milled down and tested in accordance with ASTM A48 standards. The results of the tensile testing showed that the fluxed and high boron melts had the lower strength than the diluted and baseline melts. In conclusion, our hypothesis was not supported. The addition of soda ash to remove boron does not appreciably reduce the ferrite content of the metal and does not strengthen in comparison to high boron content. We would like to thank everyone who supported our project.